The air inside the Fifth Street gym was thick with sweat, leather, and history. This wasn't just any gym. It was the temple where legends were forged. Muhammad Ali, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, was in the middle of his afternoon training session. His gloves pounded the heavy bag with a rhythm that sounded almost musical. Pop, 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 pop. Each punch was a statement, each movement, poetry. But what happened in the next 10 minutes didn't just shake that gym. It revealed a truth about strength that most people spend their entire lives never understanding. Ali was preparing for his upcoming fight against Joe Bugner, scheduled for Kuala Lumpur in just 2 months. He was 33 years old, past what many considered his prime, yet still the most recognizable face on the planet. His trainer, Angelo Dundee, watched from the corner, stopwatch in hand, counting rounds. Young sparring partners circled the ring, waiting for their turn to dance with greatness. Then the door swung open. A mountain of a man walked in, 6'4", 250 pounds of sculpted muscle. His name was Derek the Tank Morrison, a professional bodybuilder who'd recently won the Mr. Florida competition. His arms were bigger than most men's legs. His chest looked like it had been carved from granite. He wore a tight tank top that seemed designed specifically to showcase every striation, every vein, every hard-earned inch of muscle. He wasn't there to train. He was there to prove a point. Morrison walked straight to the center of the gym, his footsteps heavy against the wooden floor. Several boxers stopped what they were doing. Even the sound of the speed bag went quiet. There was something about his energy, aggressive, challenging, deliberate. He carried himself like a man who'd never lost a physical confrontation in his life. Ali noticed. He always noticed. The champion stopped hitting the bag and turned around, his hands still wrapped in red training gloves. Sweat dripped from his brow. He smiled that famous smile. "You lost, brother? Mr. Universe auditions are across town." A few people laughed, but Morrison didn't. "I'm exactly where I need to be," Morrison said, his voice cold. "I came here because I'm tired of people calling boxers strong. You guys dance around, sure, you're fast. But strong?" He shook his head slowly, flexing his right bicep. The muscle swelled like a python coiling. "Real strength? That's built in the weight room, not by slapping at each other with pillows on your hands." The gym went dead silent. Angelo Dundee stepped forward, his face red. "Hey, pal, you need to—" But Ali raised his glove, stopping his trainer mid-sentence. His eyes never left Morrison's. "Strong, huh?" Ali said quietly. There was no anger in his voice, just curiosity. "So you think these—" he held up his gloves— "are pillows?" Morrison smirked. "I think if you and I got in a real fight, without rules, without gloves, your speed wouldn't mean a damn thing. I'd break you in half." Here's the part the history books won't tell you. In that moment, Ali could have responded with ego. He could have escalated. He could have let his entourage throw the guy out. He'd done that before with disrespectful challengers. But this time, something different flickered in his eyes. He saw an opportunity, not to humiliate, to educate. Ali slowly walked toward Morrison, untying his gloves as he moved. The bodybuilder instinctively tensed, his fists clenching. Everyone in the gym held their breath. This could go very wrong, very fast. But Ali didn't square up to fight. Instead, he extended his bare hand. "What's your name, brother?" Morrison blinked, confused. "Derek." "Derek, good name, strong name." Ali nodded thoughtfully. You came in here to prove something. I respect that. You work hard on your body. I can see that. Discipline, dedication, hours in the gym. I respect all of that. Morrison's shoulders relaxed slightly, but suspicion remained in his eyes. Ali continued, "You think strength is about muscles, about how much you can lift, how big your arms get. And yeah, that's one kind of strength." He paused, letting the words settle. "But let me ask you something, Derek. Can your muscles make a decision in 1/10 of a second that saves your life?" Morrison frowned. "What? When a punch is coming at your face at 30 miles per hour and you got less than a blink to react, can your biceps think for you?" Ali tapped his own temple. "Strength isn't just in the body, brother. It's in the mind. It's in the reflexes. It's in reading your opponent's eyes before he even knows what he's gonna do." Ali walked over to the heavy bag and gestured for Morrison to join him. "Hit this bag as hard as you can." Morrison looked around. Was this a setup? A trick? But his pride wouldn't let him back down. He stepped up to the 150-pound heavy bag, rolled his massive shoulders, and wound up. Boom! His punch landed with devastating force. The bag swung wildly, chains rattling. A few people in the gym actually gasped. That was raw, explosive power, the kind that came from years of deadlifts, bench presses, and ego. The entire bag rack shuddered from the impact. Morrison turned to Ali, satisfied. "That's strength." Ali nodded slowly. "Impressive. Real impressive. Now watch." The champion didn't wind up. He didn't load his shoulder or shift his weight dramatically. He simply stood in front of the bag, relaxed, and threw a straight right hand. Crack. The sound was different, sharper. The bag didn't swing as dramatically, but something else happened. It compressed. The impact folded the leather inward, and the entire chain system shuddered. Several boxers in the gym immediately recognized what they'd just witnessed. Perfect technique meeting perfect timing. "See the difference?" Ali said. "You used all your strength, every muscle. You telegraphed that punch from a mile away. In a fight, I'd see it coming and you'd hit nothing but air. My punch? You didn't see it start. You barely saw it finish. And all that power came from here." He touched his core. And here, he touched his legs. And here, he tapped his temple again. But wait, the story doesn't end there. Morrison stared at the bag, then at Ali, processing. His ego was bruised, but something else was happening. He was learning. For the first time in years, someone had challenged not just his body, but his entire understanding of what power meant. "Tell you what," Ali said, his voice softer now. "You think you can take one of my punches? For real?" The gym erupted in whispers. Angelo stepped forward again. "Champ, you don't need to—" Ali waved him off. "I'm not gonna hurt him, Angie. I'm gonna teach him." Morrison's pride roared back to life. "Yeah, I'll take your best shot. Right here." He tapped his massive chest. "Let's see what you got." Ali shook his head. "Not there. Your chest is protected by muscle and bone. I'm not trying to prove I can hurt you. I'm trying to show you something about control." He picked up a small foam pad from the corner, the kind trainers use to practice precision. "Hold this, right at face level. Don't move it. Don't flinch. Just hold it steady." Morrison took the pad, holding it in front of his face with both hands, gripping tight. His forearms flexed with tension. "Now," Ali said, backing up 3 steps, "when I punch this pad, I want you to tell me what you feel. Not in your hands, in your neck, in your head, in your whole system." Before Morrison could respond, Ali's fist shot forward. Snap! It wasn't a wild haymaker. It was a laser-guided missile. The pad compressed completely, and Morrison's head snapped back. Not from the force pushing him, but from the shock wave traveling through his arms, into his shoulders, and up into his brain. His knees buckled slightly. His eyes went wide. "What? What was that?" Morrison stammered, lowering the pad. His hands were shaking, not from fatigue, but from the aftershock of kinetic energy that had just traveled through his entire nervous system. "That," Ali said calmly, "was speed meeting precision. You felt the power, didn't you? But here's the thing. I pulled that punch at 70%. If that was full force, and if that pad wasn't there, you'd be asleep right now. Not because I'm stronger than you, but because I know exactly where to hit, exactly when to hit, and exactly how to transfer every ounce of energy into a target the size of a quarter." The gym was completely silent now. Even the street noise from outside seemed to have disappeared. Morrison set the pad down slowly. He looked at his hands, still trembling slightly from the vibration of that single punch. Then he looked at Ali, really looked at him, not as a target, not as someone to challenge, but as someone who just opened a door to a completely different understanding of combat, strength, and mastery. I didn't know," Morrison said quietly. His voice had lost all its edge. I thought being strong was enough." "Most people don't," Ali replied. "That's why they talk about strength like it's just muscles. But real strength, real power, it's intelligence, it's timing, it's discipline. It's knowing when to throw a punch and when to throw a lesson instead." Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of leaving in shame, Morrison did something that shocked everyone in that gym. He walked to the corner, picked up a jump rope, and asked, "Can I train here?" Ali's face lit up. "Brother, you were always welcome here. You just didn't know it yet." For the next 3 months, Derek Morrison trained at 5th Street Gym. Not as a boxer, he never wanted to compete in the ring. But he learned footwork from Ali. He learned rhythm. He learned that strength without strategy is just noise. He showed up every morning at 6 before the main crowds arrived and worked on movement, balance, coordination, all the things his bodybuilding career had never emphasized. And here's the profound part. Morrison went on to become one of the most respected bodybuilding coaches in Florida, but his philosophy changed completely. He started teaching his students about functional strength, strength that serves a purpose beyond appearance, strength that includes flexibility, speed, and mental resilience. He would tell his clients, "You can build the biggest muscles in the world, but if you can't control them, if you can't move efficiently, if you can't think clearly under pressure, you're just carrying around expensive decorations." Years later, in a 1982 interview with Iron Man magazine, Morrison was asked about the biggest lesson he ever learned. He didn't talk about nutrition. He didn't talk about training splits. He said, "I learned from Muhammad Ali that being strong and being powerful are two different things. Strength is what you build in the gym. Power is what you do with it when it matters. I walked into that gym thinking I was the strongest man in the room. I walked out understanding I didn't even know what strength meant." So, what's the deeper lesson here? This wasn't really a story about a bodybuilder challenging a boxer. It was about ego versus wisdom. It was about the difference between proving you're right and actually being effective. Morrison came into that gym to assert dominance. He believed physical superiority was the ultimate currency. But Ali showed him something far more valuable. That true mastery isn't about overpowering your opponent. It's about understanding the principles that govern conflict itself. In 10 seconds, one perfectly placed punch didn't just change Morrison's mind. It changed his entire philosophy. It rewired decades of conditioning that told him size equals power, muscle equals dominance. And here's what makes this story legendary. Ali didn't have to humiliate him. He didn't have to mock him or throw him out. He recognized a teachable moment and took it. That's the mark of a real champion, not just winning the fight, but winning the person over. The encounter at Fifth Street Gym that August afternoon became something of an urban legend in Miami boxing circles. But those who were there remember it differently than the tough guy story it could have been. They remember it as the day Muhammad Ali proved that the strongest punch isn't always the one that knocks you down. Sometimes it's the one that wakes you up. And in Morrison's case, it woke him up to a truth that would define the rest of his career. Real power isn't about how much you can lift. It's about how wisely you can apply what you've built. That's the untold legacy of a 10-second moment that changed 2 lives forever.